So tell me a little bit about the Air National Guard. Mm-hmm. Is it the same thing as the National Guard, but it's like Air Force instead of Army?
Correct. Yep. So the National Guard is both Air Guard and Army Guard. All of us have different missions. We're fortunate. We flew the F-16 for 33 years. I was Security Forces Defender. So you're out there on the flight line. You're doing the law enforcement activity on the base. Base security, ground-based air defense is what we used to call it. So I did that for 7 years. It's a small state. I was still an E5, and you're waiting for somebody to die or retire. Because when people, retention is great in the Guard, and folks would stay for a very long time. And our Air Guard they're fantastic. Love working with the folks that I work with there. But I knew that I had aspirations at one point to go to officer candidate school. I had just enough college. I didn't have a degree yet. And it was the late Brigadier General Mike Heston. He died of pancreatic cancer after 3 tours in Afghanistan. He was a state trooper. I knew him from law enforcement. He was also the OCS company commander for the Army Guard. So we're having coffee after shift one night, and he says, "Hey man, why don't you go?" He was from Rhode Island. "Nida, why don't you go to OCS?" I'm like, "Mike, I'm 34 years old, man. I'm like a late bloomer here. You got to be commissioned before your 35th birthday." And he said, "Don't worry about it. I'll get a waiver." And he did. Damn. So I went over from the Air Guard to the Army Guard. So that would have been in February, March, April, May, June. So 4 months later, I'm standing tall at Fort Carson, Colorado, with what we call fast track, accelerated OCS, run by the Guard.
And you're 34 years old when you go to become
34 years old.
Second lieutenant?
And I get off the bus with all the other candidates, and there was some terrain feature of a captain. I mean, the back of this guy's neck looked like a pack of hot dogs. He was giant. Former NCO, had been to war. I think he was actually in Lebanon for some of the horrific actions. But mister, talk about somebody being up your backside with a flashlight. That was an eye-opener. They don't do that in the Air Guard. It's like, why are you yelling at me? But it was, I've been to a lot of different schools. We all have. But it was probably, I would consider it a capstone experience in my career. Mm-hmm. That was really truly the opening of the door of opportunity. And it was because of Heston. And I cursed him for 9 weeks. Because it wasn't BUD/S, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But it was hard. It was hard enough.
Yeah, and plus, I went through BUD/S when I was 18. Mm-hmm. And when you're 18, I mean, look, you don't really care about anything, But as a grown 35-year-old man, when somebody keeps yelling and screaming at you, I'm sure that was a little bit tougher to deal with.
Yeah, it was a smoke session. It was, you double timed everywhere. And in the end, when I flew home, we did 7 weeks at Fort Carson for phase 1 and 2, which was condensed. And then phase 3 was at Fort Lewis, Washington at the time. I had to go to the exchange to buy clothes to fly home because I lost 22 pounds.
Dang.
You got your 3 squares. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's calories in, calories out. And there are way more calories out because, you get smoked to the point of failure. We'd screw up the PT formation, and then Captain Shuto, who was one of our attack officers, would come out, and the guy's like a triathlete. 2% body fat. Hey, we're going to do the side straddle hop. We're like, yay. 4-count exercise, right? We're doing 100. Yeah. So, Jocko, you're a fit man. Have you ever jumped up and down 400 freaking times?
Oh.
And then go for a 5-mile run?
Yes, unfortunately, I have.
So, yeah, of course, yeah. But, my God. So, yeah, no secret. Yeah, I probably should go back. But, yeah, I lost 22 pounds, but that was really, it was very well done.
And are you starting to think, what are you thinking about your job, your future as an Army officer? Are you starting to think maybe that's something you want to lean more into?
Well, I will tell you this. So I liked being a cop. I always loved the idea of being a cop, but it was never quite what I thought it was going to be. Whether in uniform or working as a liquor investigator. It was a great job, don't get me wrong. Made my own hours. You're working every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night to do bar checks and things like that, but it's never like it's on TV. You ain't solving anything in 20 minutes, right? It's compliance, and it's a great job. Mm-hmm. But, man, I love going to drill weekends. I became an armor officer. I went to the armor officer basic course for 17 weeks at Fort Knox. I love being on tanks, man. I just, most fun you can have with your clothes on. You guys talked about it in the books. You're calling in Main Gun Mike to do your work.
Oh, yeah.
Help you guys out.
Bless him.
Yeah, so to me, I don't know, I just loved I loved going to drill weekend. Mm-hmm. And then I had the opportunity in June of 2000, interviewed for a support platoon leader job I knew jack about logistics, but that's a job. It's AGR. I could be in the Guard full time. So I applied and was just incredibly fortunate to get picked up to be active Guard and reserve.
So if someone's listening right now and they, I get a lot of questions like this. I get a lot of guys that are 28 years old. They got a kid on the way. They're married. They got a good job, but they never served, and they feel bad about it. They wanna scratch that itch, for lack of a better way of saying it. And I always tell them, go in the reserves, go in the National Guard. When someone's that guy right now, 28-year-old guy. What does that look like for him when someone joins?
Join the Guard. It's not hard.
No.
Truth in lending, right? So we've all heard the adage, well, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Okay, well, that's kind of true. You got to get your training out of the way first. So you can do 10 weeks of basic training, and then your advanced individual training is however long it is. Intel, you want to be an Intel specialist, could be up to a year, 10 months, something like that. Air Guard, very technical career fields. They're Air Force specialty codes. Some schools are longer than others, but you can do both. Every state has different benefits. It is a time commitment. I'm not going to tell anybody it's not. It's not convenient. It does add some stress to your family because you're not going to be home some of the times. We do get deployed, obviously, all part of the job. So for me, there's plenty of incentives, there's plenty of reasons, plenty of benefits. But if you don't start with service, then there's no point in joining, because it's going to take time. It's going to be a commitment on your part. To me, the payoff is at the end. Worked out for me, but I know a number of folks that started part-time and have a similar experience to me, and they love the Guard. We've got great retention rates. But when you look at the educational benefits, the TRICARE, the dental, life insurance, all of those things, if you're going into a critical specialty, my granddaughter, who I swore in just a couple months ago, passes the ASVAB and goes into weapons with the 158th Fighter Wing, my Air Guard, and she got a $50,000 bonus.
Damn.
And my wife was like, what are we doing wrong here? I mean, there were no bonuses when I joined. But that's out there. But you're going to earn it. I mean, we're not just giving that stuff away. So that's why we haven't talked to anybody. Come see us. That's probably the most important thing. I think we need to do a better job as a Guard telling our story, because there's a story out there that's simply not being told or not being heard, one or the other.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's important. And thank you again for having me here. I think there's a story to be told. Yeah,
well, one of the best kept secrets, I was saying this before we hit record, is that you can be a National Guard Special Forces soldier. So you can go to all the training to be a Green Beret and be in the National Guard. So you can, carry on with your normal career if you have one, or you can, whatever you want to do on the civilian side, and you can be an actual Green Beret. The SEAL teams doesn't have anything like that. You can't. You have to be active duty in the SEAL teams, and you're probably going to spend, 8 years before you. There are reserve SEAL teams, but you have to be in the Navy active duty for a bunch of years prior to that. So the fact that you can just be a National Guard Green Beret is outstanding. It's very cool.
Well, and that's the other part of this, Jocko. The other element of the best kept secret. I talk to a lot of young folks. I mean, I'll do it to a farmer. But hey, man, let's talk about the Guard. What are you doing working at coffee shop or whatever? And I will always ask the question. And you're not tied to a given state if you join the Guard. Let's say your career takes you to California and you're in the Vermont Guard. Well, that's a simple paperwork drill. The recruiters handle it's called interstate transfer.
Nice.
And then you go to, and similarly, we can do a reserve component transfer. Let's say you pick up, you go to Q course, you become 18 series. You love it so much you want to go active duty. Okay, then go active duty. I think the only thing you owe the Guard, I think is still true, is a year. Post-training, you owe us a year. After that, you can go active duty if you want. Paperwork drill, I don't get in the way of that. That's opportunity for young folks.